At exactly 7:42 a.m., a woman walked out of her house smiling. She locked the door. She waved at her neighbor, and she had no idea that this would be the last normal moment of her life. What happened next didn't just shock a family. It confused the police. It divided the media. And for years it fooled an entire country. Because the person everyone trusted the most was hiding something terrifying. Pause. And once you hear this story, you will never look at normal people the same way again. Intro, setting the mood. This is not a story about a criminal who looked dangerous. This is a story about someone who looks safe, someone you would invite into your home, someone you would trust with your secrets. And that's what makes this case so disturbing. Because when the truth finally started to come out, even the detectives asked one question: how did we miss this? A perfectly normal morning. The town of Riverton was quiet. One of those American towns where nothing ever happens. Tree-lined streets, kids waiting for school buses, coffee brewing in every kitchen. The woman's name was Emily Carter. She was 32 years old, worked a regular office job, no criminal history, no enemies, no drama. To the outside world, Emily's life looked simple, predictable, safe. But sometimes, the most dangerous stories hide behind ordinary routines. So the last routine. Every morning, Emily followed the same schedule. 6:30 a.m. Wake up. 6:45 a.m. Shower. 4:15 a.m. Breakfast. 7:40 a.m. Leave for work. Her co-workers would later tell police she was never late. Not once. But on this day, Emily never arrived. At first, no one panicked. People assumed traffic or a sick day until her phone started ringing and ringing and ringing with no answer. The first warning sign. By noon, Emily's sister tried calling, straight to voicemail. By 3 p.m., her boss called again. Nothing. And by 6 p.m., one simple fact became impossible to ignore. Emily Carter had disappeared. No message, no note, no explanation. Just gone. Police get involved. When police arrived at Emily's house, nothing looked wrong. No broken doors, no broken windows, no signs of a struggle. Her car was still parked outside. Her purse was inside. Her phone charger was plugged in. It looked like she had simply stepped out and never come back. That's when investigators made their first assumption, and that assumption would cost them years. The wrong theory. Police initially believed this was a voluntary disappearance. Adults leave sometimes. Stress, personal reasons. But Emily's family refused to accept that. She wouldn't just leave, her sister said. She loved her life. And there was something else. Something small, but deeply unsettling. The neighbor's comment. A neighbor mentioned seeing Emily that morning. She wasn't alone, he said. That single sentence changed everything. Because Emily had never mentioned meeting anyone. So who was it? And why didn't police take this detail seriously enough? The man no one noticed. Security cameras from nearby houses were checked. Most showed nothing useful, until one camera captured something strange. At 7:44 a.m., just 2 minutes after Emily left her house, a man walked past her driveway. His face wasn't clear. His clothes were ordinary. Jeans, jacket, baseball cap, the kind of man you would never remember seeing. And that's exactly why he was dangerous. Time starts slipping. Hours turned into days. Emily's face appeared on the news. Missing woman, please help. The town organized search parties. Forests, rivers, abandoned buildings. Nothing. No clues, no evidence, no body. And slowly, the case began to go cold. But someone out there knew exactly what had happened, and they were watching everything. A double life begins to show. As investigators dug deeper into Emily's life, they found something unexpected. Emily had been acting different. Not scared, not depressed, just distracted. She had canceled plans, ignored messages, and told one friend something chilling. I think someone knows more about me than they should. At the time, no one understood what she meant. Later, that sentence would haunt them. The first secret. Police found emails on Emily's computer. Most were normal. Work, family, friends. But one email thread stood out. No name, no photo, just a username. And messages that ended with one sentence. Trust me, I'll take care of everything. Who was this person? And why was Emily trusting them? A dangerous connection. When police tried tracing the account, it led to a dead end. Fake information, temporary email. Whoever this was, they knew how to hide. And they knew how to gain trust. That's when investigators finally realized Emily didn't just disappear. She was lured. Suspense build. Someone had entered her life quietly, carefully, Patiently, they learned her routine, her fears, her hopes, and on a normal morning at 7:42 a.m., they made their move. But here's the most terrifying part. The person responsible was already close to her, closer than anyone imagined. Questions that won't go away. Why did Emily trust this person? Why was there no struggle? And why did police miss the signs? Most importantly, why would someone plan something so carefully and leave nothing behind? Everyone believed Emily Carter was careful, responsible, smart. That's why no one could explain this one question. How did someone walk into her life, earn her trust, and make her disappear without a fight? Because this wasn't a random crime. This was personal. And the person Emily trusted the most was the one she never warned anyone about, setting the tone. When police reopened Emily's digital life, they expected to find answers. Instead, they found silence. No angry messages, no threats, no signs of fear, just calm conversations, friendly words, and a growing connection that no one knew existed. This wasn't manipulation by force. This was manipulation by trust. Who was Emily really? To understand how this happened, investigators had to answer one thing first. Who was Emily Carter behind closed doors? Her friends described her as independent. Her family called her cautious. Her co-workers said she trusted people easily, maybe too easily. Emily believed the best in people, and someone noticed that. Family reveals something strange. Emily's sister remembered a moment that suddenly felt important. 2 weeks before Emily vanished, Emily had asked a strange question. Do you think people can pretend forever? At the time, it sounded philosophical, almost random. Now, it felt like a warning, and a phone that never stopped ringing. Police analyzed Emily's phone records. Most calls were normal, until they noticed one number, a number that appeared again and again. Short calls, late at night, early mornings, always less than 2 minutes, as if someone didn't want to stay connected for too long. The name that wasn't there. When police tried to identify the number, there was no name, no contact saved, just digits. But Emily had memorized it, which meant one thing. This person mattered, a friend nobody knew. Police interviewed Emily's closest friends. That's when one coworker hesitated. There was someone, she said, but Emily didn't like talking about him. That sentence made detectives pause. Why hide a friend? Unless he wasn't just a friend. The secret meetings. Investigators discovered something unsettling. Emily had been leaving work early once a week. Not sick, not busy. She simply left. CCTV footage showed her walking calmly, confidently, as if she knew exactly where she was going, and she was never alone. The man in the shadows. One blurry frame changed everything. Emily walking toward a parking lot. A man waiting near a car. They didn't hug. They didn't rush. They acted like people who knew each other well. Too well. Why no one reported it? Emily's friends assumed she was dating. She never talked about it. But that wasn't unusual. Until investigators realized something disturbing. No one knew this man's name. Not her friends. Not her family. No social media. No photos. It was like he existed, only in Emily's private world. Building the profile. Detectives began profiling the unknown man. He was careful, organized, patient. He didn't rush trust. He built it slowly, message by message, call by call, until Emily stopped questioning him. With the emails that changed everything. More emails were recovered. The tone was always calm, supportive, reassuring. One message stood out. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Some things are better kept just between us. That wasn't love. That was control. Psychological trap. Experts later explained, this wasn't sudden manipulation. It was gradual isolation. Encouraging secrecy, creating dependency, making Emily feel understood, while cutting her off from others. And it worked. It was the final week. Emily became quieter, more distracted. She canceled dinner with her sister, skipped a birthday party. But she wasn't sad. She looked focused, like someone preparing for something, the critical location. Police tracked Emily's phone pings. One location appeared multiple times, a quiet area outside town. No businesses, no houses, just empty land. Why would Emily go there? And with whom? A car that didn't belong. Traffic cameras caught something chilling. Emily's car, following another vehicle, a dark sedan, registered to a rental company. Temporary, untraceable. Someone didn't want to be remembered. The trust that killed her. Detectives finally agreed on one thing. Emily didn't run. She didn't fight. She followed, because she trusted the person leading her. And that trust was the weapon. The family realizes the truth. When Emily's sister saw the footage, she broke down. She went willingly, she whispered. That realization hurt more than fear, because it meant Emily believed she was safe. See questions that multiply. Who was this man? Where did he come from? Why choose Emily? And why disappear so perfectly? The answers were closer than anyone thought. It's a cliffhanger, ending hook. In part 3, investigators uncover something terrifying. The man Emily trusted wasn't a stranger. He had been in her life longer than anyone realized. And once his identity is revealed, everything about this case will change. He had been in her life longer than anyone realized. And once his identity is revealed, everything about this case will change. The most dangerous part of this story is not what happened to Emily Carter. It's what happened before she disappeared. Because in the last 24 hours of her life, Emily wasn't scared. She wasn't running. She was preparing. And the person helping her prepare was the same person leading her toward destruction, setting the fear. When detectives reconstructed Emily's final day, they expected chaos, arguments, threats, panic. But what they found was far worse. They found calm, a calm so unnatural that it terrified even the investigators. 24 hours before she vanished. Emily's last day began like any other. She woke up at 6:30 a.m., showered, dressed for work. But something small was different. Her internet search history, and the searches that raised questions. Police uncovered her final searches. How to start over quietly. What happens if someone disappears? Is it possible to change your identity legally? At first glance, it looked like she was planning to leave. But one search didn't fit. How long does it take police to suspect foul play? That question wasn't about escape. That was about timing. It's a disturbing possibility. Detectives began to wonder, was Emily planning something? Or was someone planning it for her and feeding her just enough information to make her feel in control? The last phone call. At 8:11 p.m., Emily received a call. Duration, 92 seconds. That was the final call she ever answered. The number was familiar, the same number police had been tracking. Whoever was on the other end didn't panic her. They didn't rush her. They spoke calmly, almost gently. What was said? No recording existed, but investigators studied Emily's behavior afterward. She packed a small bag, not a suitcase, not overnight clothes, just essentials, as if she believed she would be back. But the clothes she chose. Emily laid out clothes for the next morning. Work clothes. Normal. That detail crushed one theory forever. She wasn't running away. She was planning to return. A strange visit. At 10:43 p.m., a neighbor's door camera recorded something chilling. A shadow near Emily's front porch. Someone standing just out of frame. They didn't knock. They didn't ring the bell. They waited, then left, as if confirming something. Why didn't she call for help? That question haunted investigators. Emily was cautious. She trusted police. So why didn't she tell anyone? The answer was painful. She didn't believe she was in danger. The manipulation peaks. Experts explained, the final stage of psychological manipulation is when the victim believes the idea is their own. Emily believed she was making a choice, but the path had already been decided. The last night, Emily barely slept. Phone data showed she was awake until 2:14 a.m., reading messages, scrolling, typing, deleting. One unfinished message was recovered. I don't know why, but something feels... The sentence stopped there. She never finished it. The morning of disappearance. 6:30 a.m. Emily woke up. She showered longer than usual. She chose her favorite jacket. She smiled in the mirror. Not a forced smile. A calm one. That's what makes this so disturbing. At 7:42 a.m., she stepped outside, locked the door, checked her phone, and walked forward. She didn't hesitate, because someone was waiting. The meeting. Traffic cameras captured it clearly. Emily met the man less than a block away. They spoke briefly. She nodded. She followed him. No struggle, no fear, just trust. The decision point. This was the moment everything could have changed. If Emily had turned back, if she had questioned one thing, but she didn't. She got into her car and followed him.
Sir, where did they go?
Cell tower data revealed their direction. Out of town, toward the quiet area police had already noticed. No businesses, no witnesses, just space and silence. Why this location? Investigators later realized this wasn't random. It was familiar. The man had been there before, preparing, waiting, learning. The last signal. At 8:19 a.m., Emily's phone sent its final signal. Then, Nothing. No shutdown. No power off. Just gone, as if it had been removed intentionally. The moment police missed. Police weren't notified until hours later. By then, the trail was already fading, and the man who planned everything was already moving on, like a horrifying realization. Emily didn't disappear suddenly. She was guided, step by step, hour by hour, until the final moment. A detail that changes everything. One investigator noticed something strange. Emily's car was found days later. Clean. Too clean. Someone had taken time. Care. Effort. This wasn't panic. This was planning. The truth starts to form. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a long game. And the person behind it had done this before. And questions that won't die. Why choose Emily? Why such patience? And why disappear now? The answers were hiding in the past. Sometimes, a single phone call can change everything. Not because of what is said, but because of who is speaking. And when detectives finally traced that 92-second phone call, their hands went cold, because this wasn't a stranger anymore. This was someone who had been hiding in plain sight, or setting the moment. For days, investigators had been chasing shadows, blurry footage, fake emails, unregistered numbers, but every crime, no matter how carefully planned, leaves behind one mistake. And in Emily Carter's case, that mistake was a phone call, the call everyone ignored. At first, the phone call didn't seem important, just another short conversation, less than 2 minutes. But one detective refused to let it go. People don't say goodbye in under 2 minutes, he said. They confirm plans. That sentence changed the direction of the entire case. Our deeper phone analysis. Police requested advanced phone records, not just numbers, but signal behavior, movement patterns, connection overlaps. And that's when they noticed something chilling. The caller's phone had appeared near Emily's home, multiple times, not just that morning, weeks earlier, sometimes late at night, sometimes early morning. Someone had been watching. A pattern emerges. The phone didn't stay long. It never lingered. Always passed through, as if someone wanted to be close, but not noticed. That wasn't coincidence. That was control. The first real lead. For the first time, police had leverage. They traced the phone to a prepaid carrier, harder to track, but not impossible. Eventually, a name surfaced. A name buried deep in records. A name that made detectives pause. The name from the past. The phone was registered, briefly, to a man named Daniel Reeves. At first glance, the name meant nothing. No recent crimes, no current warrants. But when detectives searched deeper, they found something disturbing. Daniel Reeves had been questioned once before. Not charged, not arrested, but questioned. In a case that looked uncomfortably familiar. The old case. 7 years earlier. Another woman, another small town, another disappearance. No body, no arrest, just questions. And one person who appeared briefly, then vanished. Daniel Reeves. Why was he never caught? Back then, the evidence wasn't strong enough. No witnesses, no physical proof, just behavior that felt wrong. Daniel cooperated, answered calmly, passed every lie detector test, and walked free. Not a terrifying similarity. As detectives compared the two cases, their unease grew. Both victims were similar in age. Both lived alone. Both disappeared without signs of force. And both had trusted someone quietly, without telling anyone. Was history repeating itself? This wasn't coincidence. This was pattern. And patterns don't lie. Someone had learned from the past. Improved. Perfected. Who is Daniel Reeves? Daniel Reeves was not a monster on paper. Mid-40s. Worked in logistics. Moved often. No criminal convictions. Neighbors described him as polite, quiet, forgettable. That was the problem. The mask. Daniel didn't intimidate. He didn't threaten. He listened. He mirrored emotions. He made people feel understood. Experts later said he didn't force trust. He let people give it to him. The phone call revisited. Detectives replayed the timeline again. The 92-second call. What could be said in that time? Enough to confirm a meeting. Enough to reassure. Enough to keep control. Not enough to raise fear. What Emily must have heard. Investigators believe Daniel told Emily, "This is routine. This is temporary. I've done this before." Those words are powerful, especially to someone already isolated. Tracking Daniel. Police tried locating Daniel Reeves, but he was gone. His apartment was empty. His job said he quit weeks earlier. No forwarding address. He had vanished, just like Emily. The realization. This wasn't a crime he committed in panic. He planned his exit. He planned everything. And now he was watching the investigation from somewhere safe. A small but critical detail. Then something unexpected happened. Another phone ping. Not from Daniel's phone, but from a backup device. Used once, briefly, near a highway rest stop. A place people don't notice, but cameras do. The image that shook police. Footage showed a man buying coffee. Baseball cap, jacket, ordinary. But his posture, his walk. It matched Daniel Reeves perfectly. For the first time, police had a recent image. The manhunt begins. Authorities issued a quiet alert. Not public. Not yet. They didn't want Daniel to panic. Because panic leads to mistakes. And mistakes save lives. A race against time. Detectives feared one thing above all else. If Daniel had done this before, he might do it again. Emily might not be the last. The darkest question. Was Emily still alive? Or was Daniel already finished? The silence gave no answers. The phone call that almost saved her. One investigator said later, if we had understood that phone call sooner, everything might have been different. That sentence would haunt the department forever. Every perfect crime fails for one reason. The criminal forgets something. Not because they are careless, but because they believe they are smarter than everyone else. And Daniel Reeves made that mistake. A mistake so small that it almost went unnoticed. Almost. Setting the dread. For weeks, Emily Carter's case had been about absence. No body, no screams, no blood, just silence. But silence doesn't mean nothing happened. It means someone worked very hard to make sure nothing was found. Until now, the location Daniel avoided. Investigators noticed something strange. Daniel Reeves had traveled all over the state. Highways, motels, back roads. But there was one place he never returned to. A narrow strip of land near the old industrial zone. A place forgotten by most people. Except one. On why this place mattered. 7 years earlier, the previous missing woman's phone had last pinged. Within 3 miles of this exact location. At the time, it meant nothing. Now, it meant everything. Returning to the past. Police quietly reopened the old case. Same disappearance pattern. Same calm behavior. Same sudden vanishing. And the same name buried in the file. Daniel Reeves. The witness who never spoke. There was a witness. Someone who had come forward years ago. And then disappeared from the investigation. A truck driver. He had reported seeing a woman. Sitting in a car on the side of the road. Not screaming. Not struggling. Just staring. At the time, police dismissed it. Now they wanted to hear him again. The silent man breaks. When detectives found him, the truck driver looked older, tired, haunted. I thought she was safe, he said. She didn't wave. She didn't move. He had assumed she knew the man beside her. That assumption had cost a life. Ground the spot that haunted him. He pointed to a location, a patch of land near the industrial zone. I think it was there, he said. I think that's where I saw her. Detectives felt the weight of that sentence. Because no one had searched that area properly, the search begins. Ground-penetrating radar was brought in. Dogs were deployed. The land looked empty. But machines don't care about appearances. They care about disturbance. And something had disturbed the earth. The first discovery. The dogs alerted near a shallow area. Not deep, as if someone expected to return. Investigators exchanged looks. This wasn't burial. This was temporary. In a criminal's confidence. Experts explained, criminals who plan long-term often don't finish everything at once. They wait. They adapt. They return. Daniel Reeves believed he had time. The item that changed the case. As soil was carefully removed, an object appeared. A fabric strap, worn, weathered, but unmistakable. It matched the description of a strap found in Daniel's old vehicle years ago. Back then, it meant nothing. Now, it meant everything. A confirmation without a body. No remains were found, but they didn't need them. The evidence told a story. A temporary holding place, a controlled situation, a calm victim. Emily had been here. But why no body? The question troubled investigators. If Daniel planned so carefully, why leave this trace? The answer was unsettling. He didn't think anyone would look here again. A pattern fully revealed. The old case and Emily's case aligned perfectly. Same method, same locations, same emotional manipulation. This wasn't Daniel's second crime. It was just the second one noticed. A worse possibility. If there were two, there could be more. And Daniel was still free. The evidence stacks up. Police connected. Phone records. Location data. Witness testimony, physical evidence. Individually weak, together devastating. They finally had probable cause. The warrant. An arrest warrant was issued for Daniel Reeves. Not public. Not yet. They needed him to feel safe. Because safe criminals make mistakes. Time running out. Investigators believed Daniel was watching the news, watching the searches, waiting, and if he realized how close they were, Emily's fate could be sealed forever. The hardest question. Was Emily still alive? Some detectives believed yes, others didn't. But one thing was certain. Daniel had kept victims alive before, for reasons no one wanted to understand yet. A sighting that changes everything. Then came a call, a gas station clerk. She had seen a man on the news, quiet, polite, buying water and gloves. He paid cash, and looked directly at the camera, the image that confirmed it. Security footage was pulled. There was no doubt. Daniel Reeves was still moving, still planning, still dangerous. A cruel truth. He wasn't running. He was preparing, and whatever came next would force him to make a decision. Every investigation has a turning point. Sometimes it's a lead, sometimes a witness, and sometimes it's a mistake. A single error can change everything. And in Emily Carter's case, the biggest mistake was made by the very people sworn to protect her. Because the detectives were so close, they didn't realize how much closer Daniel Reeves was, setting the tone. For weeks, police had been tracing Daniel. Cameras, phone pings, witnesses. They had a location. They had probable cause. They had a plan. Everything seemed perfect. Everything seemed under control, until the night they underestimated him. The assumption. Detectives assumed Daniel would stay put. They assumed he wouldn't check surveillance. They assumed he wasn't paying attention. That assumption was wrong. The wrong operation. A small strike team was sent to the industrial zone, the same area where Emily had last been seen. They were cautious but too confident. No backup, no covert monitoring, just the idea that Daniel was unaware, the observation. Meanwhile, Daniel Reeves had already noticed something. He saw unfamiliar cars parked near the industrial zone. Not random, not tourists, police. And he smiled, because they weren't careful. They weren't discreet. They were predictable. The misstep. The strike team entered the zone without waiting for the full backup. They split into small groups, focused on one building, ignoring the surrounding areas. And Daniel noticed every movement, every flashlight beam, every car engine. He had planned for years. He had studied human behavior, and now he would use that knowledge. The result. One officer triggered a sensor. A camera snapped, but the alarm was silent. Daniel slipped through the shadows. A path he had already memorized. A path no one expected. The police were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the manhunt had just become his game. The consequence. Emily Carter was still alive. Daniel Reeves had kept her in a controlled space, safe from accidental discovery, but close enough for manipulation. When police misstepped, Daniel realized they were coming, and he adjusted his plan. The evasion. He moved Emily to a secondary location. No signs left behind. Nothing to track. The police found the first location empty. No evidence. No clues. Only frustration. The psychological edge. Daniel knew the investigators were confident. He knew they expected to catch him. He used that confidence against them. Every move he made was designed to confuse, to delay, to make them doubt their own strategy. A police realization. When the strike team regrouped, they noticed something terrifying. Every lead they thought solid was now useless. Every clue they had pointed to nowhere. And the senior detective whispered, "We underestimated him." Time pressure increases. Every hour that passed, Emily's life became more fragile. Daniel's patience was still intact, but even he could not stay forever. The police needed to adjust. They needed strategy, but they were one mistake away from catastrophe, or the small detail. One junior officer noticed something small, a crushed leaf near the first search location, a broken branch, a footprint, minor, seemingly insignificant, but it was the first trace Daniel had left in weeks, the new plan. The team realized they had to change tactics. No more assumptions, no more solo entries, no more predictable patterns. They would go digital. They would cut off Daniel's movements. They would try to predict his next step, the danger. Daniel Reeves was not desperate. He had always been patient, but patience is a weapon, and every police mistake fed his confidence. He had created a bubble around Emily, and now he controlled the perimeter mentally, as well as physically. A critical error revealed. The biggest mistake wasn't a single officer. It wasn't the missing backup. It was underestimating Daniel's intelligence. Every crime he had committed before, he had done by learning from the mistakes of others. And now the police were repeating the same errors. The chilling reality. Detectives realized one fact. Emily Carter had never truly been in danger from random forces. She was in danger from a man who understood human behavior better than they did. And unless they adapted, they would lose her forever. The decisive call. The team had one chance: to communicate, coordinate, and act smarter, to predict Daniel's next move, to anticipate manipulation. One slip, one miscalculation, and Emily's fate would be sealed. Through the lesson, criminals like Daniel Reeves don't just commit crimes. They study patterns, they exploit trust, they wait, and they learn from every mistake law enforcement makes. Sometimes the truth is hidden, not because it's impossible to find, but because someone wants it hidden. And Daniel Reeves had hidden it perfectly, until now. A CCTV camera, one nobody thought to check, was about to expose everything, setting the tone. Weeks had passed. Emily Carter's case had stalled. Police had tracked locations. They had witnesses. They had a suspect. But Daniel Reeves was always one step ahead. Every search, every stakeout, every plan he had anticipated. Until a young analyst noticed something. The hidden camera. It was a security camera in a small alley near a warehouse. Overlooked. Old. Almost forgotten. Most people assumed it was broken. But the hard drive had been recording continuously. For months. And it had captured something important. And the first frame. The footage was grainy. Dim light. But it was enough. A figure walking calmly down the alley. A car parked in shadow. A woman approaching. Emily Carter. The person she met. Daniel Reeves. The behavioral clues. From the footage, Emily walked slowly. She looked confident. Daniel remained calm. He gestured subtly, guiding her. This wasn't forced. This was trust. Manipulated perfectly. The path. They walked together, out of view from main streets, toward a small, unmarked building. Daniel checking behind constantly. Emily following willingly. It looked ordinary. Safe, even. And that was the terror. The evidence missed. If police had checked this alley earlier, they might have caught him, but they assumed the cameras were irrelevant. And Daniel relied on assumptions. He counted on them ignoring small details. And it worked, or the impact of footage. The analyst realized the significance immediately. This isn't just a location, she said. It's proof. We can see Emily, following him willingly. No forced entry, no struggle. But she is clearly under his influence. Senior detectives knew this could change everything. Analyzing the pattern. The footage revealed timing of Daniel's movements, Emily's trust cues, subtle manipulations. Every gesture, every glance became a roadmap for investigators. It was rare, it was dangerous, and it was the key to predicting Daniel's next move, the realization. Daniel Reeves was not just hiding Emily, he was teaching her to trust him completely. And this camera captured the method. Investigators understood. Emily wasn't just a victim, she was being groomed for compliance. The time element. Police noted the exact times of the footage. 7:42 a.m., Emily leaves home. 7:44 a.m., first sighting of Daniel. 7:50 a.m., entering the alley. 7:57 a.m., building approach. This precise timeline allowed detectives to reconstruct the final 24 hours. Psychological insight. Experts watching the footage said, Daniel's calmness reduced Emily's stress. His gestures created trust. He manipulated space and environment. Every step was pre-planned, every motion controlled. The decision point. The footage also revealed something crucial. Daniel paused at a junction. He checked the street. He looked behind. He hesitated for a split second. A hesitation. The first mistake, how police react. Detectives realized Daniel's pattern could be exploited. That hesitation was predictable. They could anticipate his next location. It was the opening they had been waiting for. A cross-reference with other cases. By comparing, previous missing woman case, Emily Carter's movements, footage timestamps, investigators identified key locations Daniel favored. Empty industrial zones, abandoned parking lots, quiet alleys. They could now narrow the search radius. A new strategy. Police planned. Use decoy vehicles. Monitor all known locations. Deploy drones for aerial surveillance. Analyze CCTV frame by frame. Daniel had outsmarted them before, but now they could anticipate him. And the risks. Daniel Reeves was patient. Extremely patient. He had already tested police attention to detail. One mistake, one misstep, and Emily could vanish again. Now the chase begins. Using the footage, police traced Daniel's route, alley exit, nearby street patterns, possible transport routes. Every pixel became a clue, every shadow a hint. Emily's location was closer than they thought. Messed the game of minds. The footage was more than proof. It was a psychological weapon. Investigators studied body language, Emily's responses, Daniel's gestures. They began predicting his next moves, turning his own method against him. The critical discovery. Hidden in the frames, a subtle detail appeared. A small sticker on the wall. A unique door handle. A mark only locals would recognize. This became the single piece of evidence that could pinpoint Emily's holding place. The tension mounts. Detectives knew the stakes. Emily's life depended on timing. Daniel's patience was a trap. One wrong action could destroy everything. And Daniel was watching. He could sense police getting closer. But did he know how much closer? Sometimes the biggest enemy of justice is a single lie. And in Emily Carter's case, that lie had been sitting quietly. For years, a witness, a small detail, a story told to the police. That was not true. And that lie almost cost Emily her life, setting the tone. Detectives had narrowed Daniel Reeves' movements using the hidden CCTV footage. They had a precise route, a probable secondary location, and a pattern to follow. But every plan depends on information being correct. And one witness had given them false information. The witness revealed. The witness was a local delivery driver. He had noticed Emily weeks before she disappeared. He had reported seeing her with a man, someone he described as average-looking, unremarkable. At the time, investigators relied on his account completely. The lie. Weeks into the investigation, the analyst noticed inconsistencies. Delivery times didn't match. Street locations didn't align. Physical descriptions varied in follow-up questioning. And then it hit them. The witness had lied. But why? The reason. When confronted, the man admitted he had seen Daniel before in town. He feared retaliation. He wanted to help without getting involved. His story had been carefully altered to hide Daniel's identity. He had given a false description, and that false description had misled police. The consequence. The lie meant that for weeks, Daniel had avoided detection. Emily had remained under his control. Police had been searching the wrong locations. Every hour wasted increased the danger. Cross-checking the footage. Police revisited the hidden CCTV footage. They compared the witness statement, matched it with Daniel's appearance, and realized how misleading the description had been. The witness had unintentionally helped Daniel remain invisible. The strategy shifts. Once the lie was discovered, police changed tactics. No reliance on eyewitness descriptions alone. Focus on behavioral patterns. Combine CCTV, digital data, and geography. Predict next move instead of waiting for sightings. Daniel had counted on human error, and it almost worked perfectly. The secondary location. Using the corrected strategy, detectives identified the secondary location, a small abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Riverton, not far from where Emily had been last seen, perfect for keeping her hidden without attracting attention. This discovery brought them within striking distance, but danger was far from over. The risk? Daniel Reeves, noticing police activity in his area, began testing Emily, asking subtle questions, watching her reactions, observing her trust. He needed to know if she had noticed changes in her environment. And Emily, still calm but wary, started questioning things herself. Our psychological edge. Investigators realized that Daniel's manipulation was advanced. He exploited trust. He encouraged dependency. He created fear of speaking out. Even the witness who lied had played into Daniel's hands. On surveillance moves. Police deployed. Covert cameras. Drones for aerial monitoring. Digital tracking of any connected devices. They had to avoid tipping Daniel off, or Emily could be moved again. Discovery of a small clue. At the warehouse, a footprint in the dust, a misplaced item belonging to Emily, minor disturbances indicating human activity. The small clues confirmed she was there recently. Detectives were finally closing in, and the tension rises. Daniel realized something was wrong. He had underestimated the investigators. He noticed unfamiliar vehicles. He began planning to relocate Emily immediately. Every second mattered. A second witness emerges. A neighbor, previously silent, contacted police anonymously, saw unusual activity near the warehouse, noticed Daniel carrying small items late at night. did not see Emily directly. This new perspective helped police triangulate the exact area inside the warehouse. The police plan, with the corrected information, covertly surround the warehouse, monitor exits, ensure backup is ready, prepare for negotiation if Emily is alive and panicked. This plan would counter Daniel's manipulations. Emily's perspective. Inside the warehouse, Emily sensed tension. Daniel's calm demeanor was slightly off. She began realizing something was wrong. Her trust was slowly being challenged for the first time. Some criminals believe they are untouchable. Daniel Reeves thought he was invisible, untouchable, and untestable, until he made his first mistake. A single slip, a single signal, a single moment where Emily Carter showed she could still fight back. That moment changed everything, and setting the scene. The warehouse had been surrounded by police for hours. Cameras hidden, drones hovering. Backup ready. Daniel Reeves, confident as always, still believed he had time on his side. But he didn't realize that patience can sometimes betray the manipulator. Emily's subtle signal. Inside, Emily acted calm, folding clothes carefully, organizing a small corner of the warehouse. But she left a small piece of paper visible, a number, a hint, a message only a trained eye could see. One officer noticed it on the covert feed. It was subtle, but enough. Daniel's first mistake. Daniel checked his phone less frequently than usual, assumed no one was monitoring the warehouse, spoke casually, revealing a detail about his past victims. That detail was enough for investigators to connect dots from the old missing woman case. It was the first clear error in years. The strategic move. Police decided to act, maintain visual surveillance, block all possible exits, prepare negotiation teams, keep Daniel unaware that Emily had signaled. The idea, pressure without panic, forcing Daniel into an unsustainable position. Our psychological edge. Experts explained, Daniel relied on predictable human behavior. His patience and calm were weapons. He manipulated trust to delay action, but now, Emily had learned to use small signals, reversing the psychological game. And the evidence grows. Investigators reviewed hidden CCTV footage again, noticed hand gestures and slight movements by Emily, cross-referenced with Daniel's behavioral patterns. Every subtlety pointed to her compliance breaking. It was their chance. The confrontation starts. Police initiated a controlled approach. Negotiators communicated via loudspeakers. Drones monitored all angles. Daniel was unaware of Emily's signal being detected. He remained calm. But that calm was about to crack. Daniel's escalation. Feeling pressure, he began moving Emily to a different room. He asked questions, testing her reactions. Attempted subtle intimidation, but Emily remained composed enough to maintain her coded signal. Police adjustment. Negotiators noticed Emily's small nods, slight shifts toward the warehouse window. They confirmed she was aware of surveillance and trying to communicate. The team decided final approach imminent. The breakpoint. Daniel's patience faltered. He misread Emily's calm, attempted to speed up the relocation, made another verbal slip about past victims. This triggered the pattern recognition algorithm the police had been refining. For the first time, they had a predictive advantage. Emily takes control. Using a subtle distraction, she knocked over a small crate. Daniel instinctively checked the noise. She created a momentary opportunity for police intervention. It was her first act of indirect resistance. The police intervention. Strike teams entered from multiple angles. Non-lethal measures prepared. Daniel cornered without risk to Emily. The operation relied on timing and prediction, not force. The capture. Daniel Reeves finally realizing Emily had outsmarted him in that moment. Police were aware of the hidden signals. His carefully orchestrated plan was collapsing. He surrendered without major incident. Emily was unharmed but visibly shaken. Psychological analysis. Experts later said Daniel's downfall was underestimating the victim's awareness. Years of manipulation couldn't override a well-timed, subtle signal. Even the best manipulators can be undone by small acts of defiance. A case evidence stacked. Following the capture, hidden CCTV footage, Emily's signals, past victim patterns, witness testimony, including corrected lies. Together, these formed a historically strong case for prosecution. The trial begins. Daniel Reeves's trial became one of the most watched in history. Evidence meticulously presented, psychological manipulation explained. Emily testified indirectly via video clips and decoded signals. The story of trust, deception, and survival captivated the nation. Through the lesson, the trial highlighted how a criminal can exploit trust and patience, the importance of small details in investigation, the resilience of victims under manipulation, Emily's subtle courage, became a turning point in modern criminal psychology studies. The truth is never simple. And for Emily Carter, the truth was more terrifying than the lies. Daniel Reeves wasn't just a manipulator. He wasn't just a criminal. He was a calculated predator, whose methods had gone unnoticed for years, until now. The setting, the courtroom. The courtroom was packed, media from across the country, experts in psychology, law enforcement officials, family members of previous victims. The tension was palpable. Emily sat quietly. She had survived. She had outsmarted Daniel Reeves, but the story she was about to tell would shock everyone. Emily's testimony. Emily described how Daniel manipulated her trust, the subtle psychological techniques he used, the moments she felt something was wrong but ignored. Her voice was calm but firm. He never raised a hand against me. Every move he made was calculated. Every word was designed to keep me compliant. I trusted him because I believed I had no choice. The courtroom fell silent. On the psychological analysis, experts explained, Daniel exploited human trust patterns. Isolation and subtle cues are as dangerous as direct force. Victims may not recognize manipulation until it's almost too late. This testimony was crucial. It revealed the criminal's method, not just the crime. The evidence presented. Prosecutors presented hidden CCTV footage. Emily's subtle signals captured on video. Cell phone data tracing Daniel's movements. Links to previous cases across the country. Every piece formed a timeline of terror, proving Daniel's premeditation. The shocking revelation. The most shocking evidence. Daniel had manipulated multiple victims, across 3 states, over 7 years. Some had never come forward. Patterns suggested he had refined his methods with each case. The courtroom gasped. This was bigger than anyone imagined. The witness who lied. The previous witness who had lied years ago came forward, explained why he gave false information, expressed remorse, provided new insights that helped the police finally track Daniel. His testimony reinforced the importance of accuracy and courage in investigations. In Daniel's defense. Daniel's lawyer argued, he never physically harmed Emily. She voluntarily followed him. Evidence was circumstantial, but the prosecution dismantled each argument. Behavioral manipulation is real and documented. Multiple victim patterns showed premeditation. Hidden signals proved Emily's controlled situation. The emotional moment. Emily described the first moment she realized she could signal for help. Police were watching. She wasn't alone anymore. Her courage had shifted the balance, turning manipulation into exposure. The jury deliberates. After days of testimony, multiple experts explained psychological tactics. Police recounted tracking and capture. Evidence was overwhelming. The jury needed hours, but the verdict was inevitable. The verdict. Daniel Reeves was found guilty on multiple counts, guilty of abduction, manipulation, and premeditated control. Guilty of crimes against previous victims. The courtroom erupted in relief and applause. Aftermath. Emily received therapy and support, advocated for awareness of psychological manipulation, became a symbol of survival and courage. Police learned small details are crucial. Witness statements matter. Psychological profiling can save lives. There's the shocking final detail. After the trial, investigators revealed Daniel had kept journals detailing previous victims. Some victims remained unidentified. This case prompted a national investigation into missing persons with similar patterns. The nation realized Daniel Reeves had fooled not just Emily, but the system itself, until she fought back. The closing thought. Emily's story became a landmark in criminal psychology and law enforcement. Trust can be weaponized. Subtle signals can save lives. Courage can outsmart even the most patient predator. Her survival was a testament to vigilance, intelligence, and hope. And the truth finally shocked America.